Welcome to the Female CEO podcast, hosted by Sephton. You may know her name, but do you know her story? This podcast takes you behind the titles and into the moments that shape some of today's most inspiring women. We explore the paths they've taken, the businesses they've built, and how they've created success on their own terms. Created by the Female CEO Create, Evolve, Overcome, these are honest, human conversations, rooted in real experience. Let the journey begin.
Welcome back to the Female CEO podcast, the show where we share the stories and strategies of extraordinary women leading with impact and purpose. Today I am joined by a true trailblazer who has spent the last 30 years redefining leadership in both corporate business and law. April Jones is an accomplished businesswoman, a top corporate board advisor, a speaker, and the founder and CEO of Colorado's premier family law firm, the Jones Law Firm. Over her incredible 3-decade career, April and her team have guided thousands of families through some of the highest stakes, most emotionally charged moments of their lives, but her impact extends far beyond the courtroom. April is a passionate advocate and voice for professionals from underrepresented backgrounds, and she uses her wealth of experience as a business owner and community leader to coach others towards their own personal and professional growth. She is here today to share her incredible leadership journey and inspire us with what is truly possible when you lead with clear purpose, courage, and confidence. April, welcome to the Female CEO.
Thank you, and thank you for that kind introduction.
Does it do you proud? Does it hit all the marks?
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you.
Good. Well, I have to admit, when I get to sit down with somebody like you who's been in business and in law for 30 years, for me, I kind of challenge myself to make sure that I'm asking the best questions to draw out of all that wisdom and knowledge so that actually we can all grow and expand. Because I think the whole premise of a podcast should really inspire you, impact you, educate you in some way.
Okay. Let's do it.
Good. Now, April, you have built an incredible 30-year legacy in law, earning a reputation as a strategic leader and founding Colorado's premier family law firm. When you look back at the very beginning of your journey, what inspired you to step out as a founder and CEO in such a demanding field?
Well, let's see. What inspired me? I originally planned to go to law school, and I had ideas kind of from growing up watching LA Law, if anybody remembers that show from a long time ago. And it was a very corporate law environment, big law, everybody, dressed in what I now call full uniform and, came to work every day and had cases. It was just a very corporate environment. And that was my idea of what it was to be a lawyer. I had this vision of, walking down the steps of the courthouse with my clients saying, no further questions, no questions, kind of a vibe. Ultimately, though, I started working at a law firm in a traditional sense, traditional schedule, and it became more complicated. I was married, I had a baby. And so you started with your class. So it was like 7 or 8 other new lawyers in my class. You have to bill a lot, just all the ways you need to show up in that type of environment. And it was all really important to me. But having a baby and trying to figure out how to manage all that at the same time. I ended up getting a nanny, figured it out, kept going, kept billing. And then I was ended up pregnant again with another baby. And it just became a complicated proposition at my law firm, actually. And so I literally quit the day before everybody knew I was pregnant for sure. I was like, there's no way I can tell these partners that I'm having another baby. And so I quit, started my own firm. And I think that baby is 31. But, young family. I had 3 kids under 4. We were in our late 20s. It was all perfectly reasonable. It's just didn't align with, I want to be a powerhouse lawyer and I want to do powerhouse things, and I'm in the beginning stages of my career. So the real trick is, how do you have it all at the same time? How do you have a young family? And how do you have a young career? And that's what I was faced with back then. And in the end, that led to me being an entrepreneur. But truthfully, I've given some thought to it, and I'm sure I would have ended up an entrepreneur anyway. A couple of my early jobs were with women entrepreneurs, and I've had some time to think about it. And I really, I I could look at what they were doing. One was a hairstylist. It was called Korea's House of Style. And I worked there on weekends when I was in junior high and high school, helping out, seeing if the customers needed anything, grabbing lunch, shampooing, which I'm sure I wasn't supposed to do when you look back on it from a licensure standpoint. But I would shampoo, I would blow dry people. I was really not very good at it. And the vibe at the salon was, if somebody said, "Oh, are you gonna do hair?" And they'd be like, "No, she's going to college." So, um, so I did that for probably 5 years. In Korea, that was Korea's House of Style. Her name was Korea, and it was really her world in there.
Right.
She directed the, everyone. And when she needed something, I mean, she didn't snap her finger, but you kind of felt like it. And so I saw at a young age what it was like to own and occupy your space and really deliver services that people wanted, and do it in a way when you did it from a place of service and power. So I saw that. And then in high school, I had two aunts who started a print company when printers were huge, like not huge as in popular, they were popular, but they were gigantic. This
Mm.
is before the personal computer. So they had these gigantic printers, and they knew how to use them. And my main one, who her name was Arlene, she ran it was like a little fiefdom. People would come in, they'd ask to see her. She would tell them how to, what they needed, and deliver the services. And it was another opportunity to just see very powerful women making decisions, delivering product, delivering service, getting rewarded for it, and just owning their space. So again, in high school, after school, I wasn't really thinking of it as, look at these powerful women. But when I look back on, I have to solve for wanting to have a career, wanting to have a family. How do I do it both at the same time? I realized I had been, essentially groomed to do that from a young age.
Mm. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's very relatable. Like my grandfather was very entrepreneurial, but he never sat me down. But it was always by me watching him and spending time with him and seeing how he built a rapport with other people. His reputation was definitely like one of the most important things with how he became successful. And I think when we have role models within our life that kind of show us an essence, it isn't until we actually do take the time to reflect and think, what did impact me, and having that, I think is really interesting. And I think when I think of your work, for me, I know I have a high level a need for justice. So for me, like giving people a voice to be able to share their story, is really important to me. And I'd imagine that justice is probably something that's quite important to you: fairness, equality, opportunity.
It is. And and the way I see I see fairness more in opportunity, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody doesn't have the same skill set, and
Yeah.
doesn't have the same gifts. So is it fair that I can't run like a, what, 5-second mile, 9-second mile, something, um, or 50 meters, isn't it? Whatever. The one thing is, the track. I was watching track, and obviously I wasn't watching it very well, but they could run really fast, really in a short amount of time. I can't do that. So is it fair? No, I have my own skill set and my abilities. What is fair is that I have the opportunity.
Mm.
I have the opportunity to run. I have the opportunity to read. I have the opportunity to work in whatever my wheelhouse is, and to explore. So I think it's important that people have opportunities. And I think it's important that you not be stifled because you're a woman, because of your ethnicity, because of anything. I think you should have the opportunity to make the most of yourself, whatever that means to you.
Mm. Now, family law April, requires navigating some of the highest stakes, most emotionally charged moments in people's lives, from custody to complex divorces. How do you, as the CEO, ground your team and maintain a culture of deep empathy and care without allowing the team to experience burnout?
Well, we hire people who care to care for people. And already, once you're into the work, that makes it lighter than it would be if it was a hard ask. And then we culturally, we do a lot internally. We have a lot of team building activities, do a lot of teamwork. We have a lot of fun. We we have Christmas parties that are very different. We just did a big cook-off where we did a challenge where we had the 2 different teams, and then we had the judge of the food, like one of those chef challenges, and it was really fun. People are chopping and dicing, and you're finding out who used to work in a diner, whose family owned a restaurant. People were very serious. You couldn't interrupt them while they were chopping. It was a lot of fun, but it also lets us, get together and show expertise in different ways. There was a time we had an event at our aquarium. So it's the Denver aquarium, like what you get in a traditional large city. And the reception area was in a restaurant that a, has a wall of aquarium. Well, they told me when we were looking at purchasing this package that CEOs and founders dive in the in the pool in the
Oh,
so and they were like, "Oh, it happens. Oh, they everybody loves it." And I had just been to Fiji. I just got certified in diving, so I do that. I'm diving in with the fish, and they had to make a sign that says, "Hi, it's April," because you wouldn't know who was in the scuba dive outfit or yes. And so my team was so shocked, and I'm like waving like the um But that's the kind of thing we do that just keeps us connected in ways that matter, besides the client work. The client work is external. That's what we do. When we talk about our wins all the time, we have leadership meetings where we have shares and, we're high-fiving and we have a big brain trust concept where we talk about different lawyers and judges and opposing counsel and opposing party and how can you best deliver what the client needs in these different environments that are often personality driven. So we spend a lot of time as us as a team, and then we go out, help the client, and then come back and care in more of a bubble wrap kind of way. So that's what we try to do around here to make it work for everybody.
I like that. So definitely having fun in the culture of your business, because emotions can be very draining, especially in the line of work and the sensitivity and the nature of the work that you and your team do. I think it is really important that you have each other to be able to kind of replenish and refuel.
Absolutely.
Now, many entrepreneurs focus heavily on the technical skill of their trade, but you've managed to build a reputation as an accomplished strategic businesswoman and corporate board advisor. What was the biggest shift required to move from being a great attorney to actually running a highly successful, scalable enterprise?
I had plans to run my firm and go on the bench when my last kid graduated from college. So I had 3 kids in college at the same time. And but I had a 10-year plan that I created with a mentor. So mentors are huge. A mentor who was really when I first met him, he had a magazine cover hung on his wall that was like who's running Denver and it was, his was him. And so he was that level of mentor. We had a plan and I worked the plan um for going on the bench and the firm was more a vehicle for service for clients and but the plan was to close the door. And what happened in 2018, when the last kid did graduate, I decided that I instead wanted to grow the law firm that I wish I had available to me when I had 3 kids under 4. And that's became the mission. And in order to do that, because now my law firm's 18 years old, because we started in 2000, but I needed coaching. So I signed up for a coaching program on how to manage a small law firm. took all these courses. So what changed was running the law firm like a business and learning to run the law firm like a business. So we spent the first 18, 19 years, because I started January 2019, first 18 years perfecting how to practice law and how to deliver and how to know judges, know the climate. But the running of the business was what changed, and processes, procedures, mission, vision, values, that's how we were able to take what was was the meat of what we do, which was deliver excellent legal services, and then make a business of it.
Mm, it's a good way of doing it. Um, I think that your firm, the Jones Law Firm, is really recognised, April, as a go-to for high-level legal services. In a competitive landscape, how have you intentionally designed your firm's brand and client experience to build that level of deep community trust? Because I think more now than ever that there's so many opportunities to work with varying brands, varying people. And so it then requires us to not just be focused on what it is that we do, but how we do it. Like, how have you managed to build that trust and take a good lion's portion of the market?
Well, we're a 25-year-old oak tree, really. So showing up year after year, delivering for clients year after year for decades, I actually have I don't know to what extent this is I mean, it's a win. I've I now have clients who are the children of my clients.
Wow.
That's how long we've been in business. Um, and that's part of how we can show up and how we can deliver. It's a reputation that's been built over time, and all the boards and the commissions and the bar associations that I have been involved in and that I've led, they all have fed into it, but it's service first. So we do the service, we do the work, we do the service, we do the work, and now it's today.
Would you say that's probably the proudest thing in your business when you look at the growth and the legacy that you've got reputable family business that has actually brought in multiple generations that continue? Do you really see that as like the arch of your accomplishments?
Well, the twist to that is if I have multiple generations of clients, that means we have multiple generations of divorces and of families that aren't surviving and of custody disputes. And so no, I don't. What I really believe in family. I believe in relationships. And so we have a service where if people need us, we help them. But I'm not in the business of encouraging people to um, to make decisions that have them requiring my services. I think what I'm most proud of is the number of people who we have been able to help to get to a next better life. The having to call us because you've been served with divorce papers, that's a really hard moment in people's lives. And when you meet people and you say, "Hey, how are you?" You meet someone at a restaurant or a reception and you start asking about them, people often lead with how they grew up, if they were divorced, if their parents separated, if they were single parented. And it's such a critical component of life. And the extent to which we can help people get through it and manage better and get to a better life, that's what matters to me.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful frame. I'm glad that you kind of shared it. You did make me pause there for a moment. Of course, like you don't want to have the nature of family coming with these problems of divorce, but I think just like how if you see a doctor, it's inevitable at some point we're sick or we need help. And so if you were to go to a doctor that's looked after generations, then that would be a good thing because it's all about trust and it's also about making sure that when you go through problem and challenge that they're getting the result that they wanted. So the fact that if family from different generations come to you is saying that what you provide for them when things do go wrong is actually a real positive thing.
That is true.
Yeah.
So I am proud of that part,
Yeah,
that we were
definitely.
able to care for their parents and they can trust that we can care for them. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I totally understand you don't want them to have these problems, which I think is a really beautiful thing for you to say. Um, I've got a friend in Sweden, he's a naturopath, and the thing that I love about him is he doesn't actually want his clients to keep coming to him. He wants to educate them so that they don't come to him. And the
Right.
attitude around that's so much more beautiful. So thank you for that. Now,
You're welcome.
you are passionate about using your platform to be a voice for professionals from underrepresented backgrounds. What unique insights or challenges, April, do communities of color face when navigating the legal and business worlds? And how are you working to bridge, that gap?
Part of it is history and family background and time to have um, have the depth of experience in your family where you can learn at the kitchen table, right? And so if you have historically been limited, um, or pigeonholed or locked out, then you don't have the historical depth to share. And part of what matters to me is that again, people who have abilities and interests that you're able to act on those, fulfill those. I mean, this is America. You have a dream, you can act on your dream fully and freely and without being stifled because of something as insignificant as your ethnicity or color or
Mm,
gender.
mm,
Like, let people do their thing. And
mm,
that's important to me. And so being a role model, speaking to children, to students, to adults, and showing that, you know, if you dream it, you can have it. If you want to go for it, you can get it. And being proof of that, that's important to me.
mm. And I think going back to what you were sharing about how, like, even your own aunties were role model and a beacon for how you wanted to be. I think, we also have to realize there's people watching us too. And the best way to influence people is by the way that we are showing up.
Yes,
As a
I
parent of
agree.
Yeah, yes. As a parent of accomplished children, a community leader and an executive, you have like such a wealth of knowledge, April, that you now share through personal coaching. How do you personally define the balance between professional momentum and personal growth? And how do you help other leaders unlock that same confidence?
Part of what is significant about coaching and is that you can tap into the skill and expertise that you need that someone else already has. It's like a tool. You tap into it, you grab it, you plug it back into your engine, and then you can really take off. There's so much of what is involved in learning that has to happen that if you go and learn the old fashioned way, which is, the school of hard knocks, you figure it out yourself, it just takes longer. But if you can go to someone who's already had the experience, pinpoint what you need, hand you the part, let you plug it in, then you can really take off. And I have found that once I embraced coaching in 2019, we've had We've had over 600% growth. If I count from 2018 before the coaching, we've had like 12 or 1,300% growth. But it's because I already had it's not how to practice law. That's not what they're teaching me. Whoa, let's figure that out. Here she is. It's not how to practice law. It's how to run a business. I went to law school. If I had gone to business school, then that wouldn't be such a I wouldn't go to get coached on how to run a business. Um, But you find out what your shortfall is, find someone who does it, um, with ease, grab the nuggets, and then go.
Yeah. Good. Now, assisting corporate boards with mitigating risks to encourage growth is a key part of your own expertise. For a female CEO listening right now who is looking to scale and grow her business, what is one major risk that business owners often overlook that can halt their growth?
I would say as you grow, the business that you were when you were a $1 million business, and the processes and procedures and that you followed at a $1 million business isn't going to serve you at a $5 million business or a $10 million business. So, and we can talk in hundreds of thousands of dollars. $100,000 business and a $500,000 business needs a different dif- dif- needs a different support system. So it's really important to not think that all you need is to be twice as big as twice as much of what you have, because that's not going to sustain you. You will grow, the old systems will break, they will need to be rebuilt, and you just do it, over and over periodically as you continue to grow and scale. And I think learning that the hard way, you will either learn it the hard way or you will prepare for it, but it will happen.
Mm. Isn't that interesting? Like often we will learn and we get to choose how we learn. And sometimes, as you said, sometimes it will be the hard way, rather than actually reflecting and realizing, how something works. Uh, I think, for me, I always found acceptance my last kind of like default mechanism of dealing with something, because I always believed there was a solution to a problem. And sometimes you just have to accept the truth to liberate yourself. And I always found that difficult.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, in the end, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If there was one core truth, April, you want listeners to take away from your own journey about what is truly possible when you lead an organization with clear purpose, what would it be?
Having goals that move with you, you can have you can call it your short-term goal and your long-term goal, but as you grow and hit certain milestones, what you thought you needed changes. And so you need to have goals that can grow as you grow, and as you hit your target, you need to be able to step back and say, okay, what served me before and what will I need to no longer do and what will I need to add to get where I'm going.
That's really good. Now, I've only got a few moments left, April. How do people find out more about you and your business? And feel free to share maybe one final thought that you really want us to kind of like take away and maybe contemplate.
Sure. We are on our website is denverdivorceattorneys.com. That's attorneys with an S, denverdivorceattorneys.com. I had a guy probably maybe 15 years ago, and I was solo, sell me denverdivorceattorneys.com. He's like, oh, I paid something. I was a lot of money at the time for it. And he just really twisted my arm for it. But it actually ended up being a really good purchase. So denverdivorceattorneys.com.
That's a great story. One final thought from you?
Well, I would say, being an entrepreneur, people say, what do they say? Half of businesses don't make it, and or some statistic. Ignore the statistic. Really focus on what it will take for your area, for whatever it is that you want to deliver. Focus on that, learn that, and then deliver it. Ignore the spin about what it means to be an entrepreneur, and just really learn your craft, and then learn how to sell it and deliver it.
Beautiful. April, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Female CEO podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
You've been listening to the Female CEO podcast, created by the Female CEO Create, Evolve, Overcome. This podcast amplifies women's voices, stories, and lived experience. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our YouTube channel, and discover more at thefemaleceo.com.